Oh my gosh, here we are, another Penumbuddies episode.
Hello, Penumbuddies.
Woo!
So here we are, backlog number 3, talking about Juno Steel and the day that wouldn't die, which is a fucking wild one to have as your third goddamn episode.
Such a
Now,
light-hearted romp. What a
right?
delight.
Although honestly, when I was first listening through, like this was the episode that I was like, okay, I'm going to be obsessed with this now.
Yeah, you can feel like this pull in your brain that's like, oh, there it is. That's the special interest button. It's happening right now. Oh, God. Honestly, though, like, that third, wow, this one hits hard.
It really does, especially considering what we know now.
Yeah?
So, if in some distant future, anyone is listening to this, like, we're recording it right after Shadows on the Ship. Like, if you're, I don't know, if you're not listening contemporaneously, we got spoilers.
Yeah.
Cool.
Be careful.
Yeah. Unlikely, but yeah.
Just in case, it's good, yeah.
Yeah. So the big thing I want to talk about in light of this episode is dark matters, because
Yes.
we're all basically in consensus that dark matters is the one who stole the crew and had the bot in Shadows on the Ship, and that's technology that we saw for the first time in this episode. So I think it's important that we talk about that. And I kind of would really, and like Rab and I haven't talked about this beforehand, but hopefully Rab is cool with talking about kind of the 3 main relationships in this episode. So like Juno and Mick, Juno and Sasha, and Mick and Sasha.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, because I think all 3 of them have like really interesting things to rotate around each other. And then also I want to talk about world building, because I always want to talk about world building.
Yes, and I want to talk about the concept of justice or atonement, and also the contrast of remembering the past and creating a fantasy for yourself.
Oh,
sometime.
Shit, Rab. Just go right for like the emotional heart of the episode, why don't you?
I nearly cried 5 times listening to this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was a rough one.
Okay, what was the first one you listed though? Dark Matters. Fuck yeah, there's so much Dark Matters goodness in this.
Okay, so we're a few minutes in. I'm just gonna dive right into the wild theories.
Do it.
They already knew that Sasha and Juno worked together on the Force, and that like I'm getting a little convinced that Juno was passed over for Dark Matters.
Oh,
because of the way that he just mocks and mocks and mocks and mocks Sasha's job and Dark Matters in general. Like, maybe that's grasping at straws, but
No, I think that's a valid theory. That would make a lot of sense and help create that schism between them where Sasha gets to flee and Juno is always stuck.
Yeah. Because that tension, because I think it's, in a lot of ways, it can be a little bit hard to tell, like, why are they friends? Like, what's, like, aside from history, what's holding them together? Because they're very cruel to each other. Or, well, mostly Juno's cruel, but they're, and you don't really see what's holding them together aside from Mick. Mick and like old memories. But I think if this is the first time they've really talked in 15 years since Sasha got this opportunity and Juno didn't, like, that's such an interesting dynamic for something that we don't learn about for what, 4 years?
Like, oh fuck. God, this podcast has been going a while. I forgot.
Yeah, I got into it freshman year.
Oh my God, that is so wild. This has followed you through college. Good Lord.
It has, yeah.
Oh man. Oh, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all if that was the case. I would love that.
Mm-hmm.
I like me this theory. It tastes delicious.
Oh, no. Yeah,
so there's that, and the technology they were using, like even having this like sharp sort of like it was, well, I forgot what it was described as. It was like a stabby, pointy thing that was being like stabbed into the material of the tubes as they were crawling through.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was very reminiscent to me of the, you hear the thudding in the vents, and
Mm-hmm.
then something stabs up into you, into your
Mm-hmm.
leg, and it's like, oh no, they got mixed leg. And I'm like, oh, that's familiar.
Yes, it is. It's very familiar. And the
Hmm.
idea that Juno, at least for a moment, believed that Annie was there,
Yeah.
like, because we get the robotic bartender who like knows what they said, but like is speaking in that like really robotic voice. But at the end, you get like a scene where Juno really thinks that Annie Wire has one, not aged, and
Yeah.
two, is like in front of him. So I think that I don't know. I think that bodes really well for like the in-universe technology. They're not just pulling something out of their asses. Like
Yeah. No,
it's something that's been
absolutely.
there before.
This is very much set up where, I mean, they didn't know that the robot was a robot until he opened his mouth and started like literally shooting lasers out of his face. Like
uh, I miss season one.
yeah, season one was fucking trip, man.
Yeah,
God.
really was.
And I forgot about how much of a horror element there was. Like this was terrifying at points.
Yeah, it's so scary.
Yeah.
Like,
Like
whew.
the
It's very
concept.
Shadows on the Ship. Like the parallels are so there.
Yes, it is a joy to go back and listen to this right afterward. It is perfect.
Hmm.
It was exactly what I needed. I have completely forgotten about these robots. And now I'm like, oh,
uh,
everything makes sense.
yeah. And I think it would be cool if they went back to like season one technology, including the teleporters, to get them out of this season three pickle.
Yeah, because like the teleporter episode, like we talked about, was kind of a mess in terms of plot, where it was really hard to follow. And so it would be it would be really great if they were able to reap some benefits from that. And like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know. But I don't know, I just wanted to flag like how much Juno resents Sasha and how much he resents Dark Matters.
Yeah, that's kind of a lot. And it's funny because I pegged it the first time I listened. I thought it was like, oh, Juno has this resentment because he's such a logical person that he's just like affronted by the idea of an organization that exists supposedly to debunk like all these mysterious things and like
Hmm.
be but that doesn't make sense anymore to me because Juno's not
Yeah,
he's yeah, he believes in things like
he really
ghosts.
does. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't, that doesn't really make sense to that amount of vitriol to be coming out of him. Although, granted, he is quite angry at a lot of things at this point.
That's true. That's true. I feel like this is definitely the first time that Juno's depression really makes an appearance and not makes an appearance, but someone is like, that's bad.
Yeah, where he
This,
encounters direct opposition, where someone is saying, "No, I'm not going to deal with this. Are being, you're being bad, and I need you to be better."
well, this, my favorite line in the show is suck it up, ask for help, and live, you jerk.
Oh my God, that is just
Like,
such a fucking line. Can you believe the third
words to live
episode?
by.
This episode is just so strong in terms of like that whole scene with Mick and Juno, I think is genius. Like Mick
It
just
really is.
keeps dropping these lines that are like, oh, like where Juno's like, you just expect me to be fine? He's like, yes.
Yes,
Yeah, I
clearly.
do. And it's like, holy shit. It's like, it's the first, I think, where Juno is like asking Sasha, like, I don't know what to do next. And then right afterward, it's like, well, you gotta live and you gotta try to be better. So,
Yeah, in a lot
wow.
of ways, it's like where the plot of the show really starts. In like, I know the like plot of the show overarching kind of, I mean, gets started in the first episode, and then when Peter comes back in episode 5-ish, I think at the end of episode, I don't know, whatever. But like, I think that this is a really good start to Juno's emotional arc. By kind of starting this at a low point, they're like, this is a problem that this character is going to have to confront and going to have to keep moving through.
Yeah, he's not allowed to just lie down and die.
Yeah,
yeah, I think that
he tries to several times.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Consistently does not work. But I agree with you wholeheartedly. We'd already gotten a kickstart to the plot, but the theme, which is like the heart of the show and what gives it its identity, I think is about recovery and change. And so the seeds are really planted here for that growth across the series. Very exciting.
It is super exciting. So I think
Ouch.
that like with talking about the you know, the conversation at the end with Mick and Juno, we may as well talk about the Juno Mick relationship.
Yes, please.
So first of all, Mick, I love you, my darling boy.
So soft.
I mean, also like I'm sure he wouldn't be that fun to know personally. But I'm just I really love one, the dynamic of Mick being the one who stayed. The dynamic of Mick being the heart of the trio. Like maybe he's not the leader, but he's the glue. I think we've talked about that before.
Yeah, that he's not the leader, but yeah.
Yeah. And like I really love the way that Juno and Sasha, when the chips are down, are like, yeah, we're protecting Mick. What are you talking about? It's very sweet.
Yeah, that was really, I loved that because for me, that was a bit of a parallel to the, holiday special where Mick was willing to sacrifice himself and just be like, no, I'm only slowing you down, kind of like that whole leech thing, and being like, this is what I can be good for, and then being like, fuck no.
Oh.
So
yeah,
my question is Mick a leech? I guess he kind of is, but it's like he wasn't. I don't know.
that's hard because like what's a leech? Like I don't think he's an emotional leech. I don't think that like being around him is emotionally difficult.
Yeah.
And then like past that, like what is being a leech aside from like needing things like humans do?
Yeah. Maybe we haven't seen enough of Mick. I need to re-listen to that episode where he's trapped with Juno when they're trying to save Ramses,
Oh
because
God.
I don't know. I need more examples of Mick needing things from Juno to I guess qualify him in my mind as a leech.
We get some like history in this episode of like he was like Juno's put him back on his feet. Juno has found him sleeping under newspapers. So like we can kind of be clear that, Mick is a very like low income person who is having a lot of struggles, and later we find out that he's like I think it was that he was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
So like I don't know. I don't think that that's enough to just be like, you're a leech, end of story.
Yeah, but it could be an issue. Potentially.
He's someone who needs help from his friends, definitely.
Yeah, and he can't ever pay for drinks, and that's just kind of who he is right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a disaster boy. That's okay.
Yeah, sometimes you're just a disaster. Yeah, speaking of the alcoholism, like I was like, ooh, because he ordered like 2 Saturns for himself, 2 rings of Saturn, and then one for Juno, and I was like, oh, oh.
And then but then Juno yells at him for Mick counting Juno's drinks.
Yeah, Honestly, this is why I had canon Juno at least teetering on the edge of alcoholism.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
Juno's an
God.
alcoholic. Like we know this.
Yes, very much. But so thinking about, I hadn't really thought about their like how they what they meant to each other, but I'm thinking now the way that Juno describes Mick as a storyteller at the end as this like little bright spot in his
Oh
life.
yeah.
Yeah, he needs that. He needs that person to be like, no, things can get better, even if Juno believes that that's naive and stupid.
Well, I think it kind of seems like I think stories are really loaded for Juno. You know, with Andromeda and his mom,
Fuck!
like stories when Juno would have met Mick, like stories would have suddenly and abruptly become incredibly unsafe for him.
Oh my God, you've just blown my mind. Oh my God. Juno's relationship with storytelling. Oh my God. Fuck.
Yeah, because he needs those narratives. Like he likes to organize his life into those narratives.
He does.
And I think that it's really sweet that he found that in Mick as a child. Someone who
Oh.
said, there is a wider world. We're going to go see it.
Oh. Now I'm thinking too that Juno, like breaking free of that narrative, is so in tune with the series message as a whole, like on a meta level,
Mm-hmm.
the with the series breaking free of the noir stereotypes. Like it starts
Mm-hmm.
very rooted in a specific story, both that Juno has constructed for himself and that the narrative is abiding by, and then by the end it's something completely different. And that's just so cool.
Yeah. He has this way that he thinks that PI should be.
Yeah.
And I
And
think a
how
lot of the
heroes
story,
should be.
yeah. And like I posted a little bit about this on Tumblr, but the idea that like the things you have gone through make you stronger, the things you have gone through make you owe the world something.
Ooh, I need to
And
read that post. I'm gonna link to that below.
oh boy, I don't know. I was just ranting about how Juno's important. But I
I
think
don't have to if you don't want me
no,
to.
it's totally fine. Y'all, like
Yay.
I'm an open book. Um, but I think it's also like an interesting because a big symptom of childhood trauma, like complex PTSD, is like black and white thinking. And that's something I've been like thinking about and working on a lot lately. The idea that people are all good or all bad. And I think that can really like extend to stories and like extend to narratives and trying to fit your life into something clean like that.
Yeah.
So like trying to be all good.
Yeah,
Um,
especially with something like Andromeda, which is a children's show, and so much
and
more
it's
easily
simplistic.
falls
Yeah.
in. Yeah, yeah. So that's a lot easier to. Oh God, I hadn't thought of that before, and that's ow, ow, ow.
Look, Rab, I'm in it for the angst.
Thank you. It's feeding me, but it's also killing me.
Oh my god. So anyway, like the line "suck it up, ask for help, and live, you jerk" is perfect. I've said that already, but it's perfect.
I will
Uh,
live by that.
right? Like I want to like put it up somewhere, like on my mirror or something.
Embroider it. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a great embroidery thing. Like if
Yeah.
anyone's bored during quarantine, please embroider this. I don't really embroider.
I'll
I
hang
did.
it on my door.
I did knit a crop top in the last couple of weeks.
Really?
Yeah.
I want to see when this is over.
Okay, I'll show you. I'll show you.
Yay!
Um, I am a knitting kind of boy.
Nice.
Um, okay, wait.
So that's Mick and Juno. So
Yes, which I'm
then
sure I spent a ton of time on. But also the narrative. Wait, what? One more thing.
that's okay.
Um,
What?
I also really love the dynamic of Sasha being like, Mick, take care of Juno. And Mick being like, all right, buddy, I got you. I don't know. I think it speaks a lot to their dynamic when they were kids of Mick being the caretaker to a Juno that didn't really want to be caretaken. Um, yeah. So basically, I think that's a really cute dynamic of like caretaker Mick, which I think is a good role for him. But anyway, you want to talk about Juno and Sasha or Mick and Sasha?
I guess we've already touched on Juno and Sasha, so maybe we could
Yeah.
expand on that first.
Okay.
But like we could just
I think that God, there's just so much there and we don't have all the information.
yeah, which is frustrating, but also intriguing.
Yeah, like they both became cops, which is a fucking wild thing to do for kids who've like, been delinquents their whole teenagerhood.
Yeah. For them to both make that choice. I wonder, I don't think they're foils for each other. They're way too similar,
Yeah.
but I do think they bounce off each other in very interesting ways.
They're competitive. They're definitely competitive. And I think that Juno is much more outwardly damaged. And Sasha's Sasha tries to like not wear her heart on her sleeve the way Juno does.
Yeah, it's funny how we've heard Peter describe Juno as having a very just his face always showing how he's feeling. And then this episode we hear that like Sasha just has no facial expression whatsoever as a default.
Like those are different coping mechanisms. And like there's a difference between
Absolutely.
someone who is out to hurt you and someone whose coping mechanisms don't gel well with yours.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Like I don't know. But their traumas are so similar. Like they both lost a sibling. They both feel like it was their fault. So like and the idea of like a body doesn't help. Seeing a body, having proof that this loved one is dead, like it doesn't help with the grieving process. That's what Juno says.
Yeah, that was another line that absolutely destroyed me was, yeah, I got bad news for you, Sasha. Like, oh my God. Yeah, they have been through so much of the same shit. And it's sad that they can't really confide in each other.
Yeah, they're so thorny. I don't know. And maybe part of that's whatever happened at the HCPD, but because
Yeah.
they're no, they're not really more open in the holiday special, but they're just kind of pissed at each other in general.
Maybe like I don't know, maybe there's a point now where since Juno doesn't respond to vulnerability with anger anymore, maybe they would be able to if Sasha would be willing to, open up, then they could actually talk now. I don't think we'll actually get that, but I think
No.
maybe the possibility.
I think Sasha's maybe supposed to torture them next episode. Like,
Oh boy. No, yeah, no, yeah.
so I don't think we're gonna be having any like intense heart to hearts. But
No. I am praying for little throwaway lines here and there about, you know,
yeah.
the past, but yeah, that's what my fingers are crossed for.
But also I think there's something to be said about faith in institutions.
Yeah?
Like it may be like a little bit zoomed out meta kind of thing, but I think a lot of the messaging in Penumbra is that institutions are not out to serve your best interests.
Oh yeah, no, no.
They're not, no, like the HCPD is corrupt. Ramses and Pilot and the whole like city government is
Yeah.
fucked.
Yeah. Medicine is oh my God, we don't even talk about medicine.
Yeah, yeah. And then like there's somehow this bizarre paramilitary something that like spy organization that
Yeah.
does whatever it wants for the greater good, and losing a few civilians is, a small price to pay for a training exercise.
Yeah, yet another example of a sort of Ramses mentality.
Yeah, so the idea of the greater good, like that's constantly used to justify fascism. But I think that it's a really important thing that Sasha has all her faith very deeply in institutions, in this
Ooh.
institution. And Juno has been so disillusioned by every institution that he's come across.
Yeah.
Then
And
that ends up being a big difference.
Well, that could be the reason. Like, if it wasn't that Sasha got the job at Juno, it could be just that Juno hates what Sasha is a part of on principle, because he has just such that what did Nureyev call it? That something about justice.
No, we can talk about Nureyev's justice boner all day.
But yeah, just Juno being obsessed with bringing people to
righteous
justice.
anger, or
yeah. So like he
that.
wouldn't want to, so I imagine it would be hard for him to accept that she was so devoted to something like that. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I think that can happen. Like, if you don't have a lot of faith in the things around you, that you find something to put all your faith in.
Oh.
Especially when you've been hurt so badly as a child.
Yeah.
So, I know. But hopefully we'll see it more. And we'll see more about it.
I hope so too. I wonder if they're both so motivated by justice, then how that's not going to end well. I don't feel like there's going to be a huge ideological clash coming up. So that's my new prediction after hearing you talk about this. I'm like, oh shit.
Well, hopefully Sasha will quit, leave a door unlocked, do something that like makes it clear that she's not 100% on board with dark matters.
Yeah. Got a foot out the door, mayhaps.
Maybe. Speaking of faith, I also wanted to note that this is the only time we've heard religion mentioned in the series.
Oh, yes, that's true. Just with Mick's dad.
Yeah, who's got the religion real bad.
That line.
Wow.
Jesus.
Wow. Speaking of faith, there's some really amazing Jewish Juno fics out there.
And my God.
Have you read them?
I have one that is my favorite. What is it called? It starts with a Z. I'll have to link it down below. But
yeah, we'll link all the Jewish Juno fics, but they're exceptionally good.
Amen. Kind of a funny thing to say. I am Jewish. And here I am.
Well, they're great, and
they are.
Happy Passover.
Yeah.
Mick and Sasha, there's less to talk about, but I think that the fact that their relationship is still really affectionate, I think, is really cute and good, and I'm proud. And when Juno is very insulting to Mick, and Mick is like, okay, I'm gonna leave now, Sasha and Mick are like, we'll hang out separately.
Yeah. Oh, good. Drawing that boundary.
Yeah, it's good. Like, I'm really proud of those two.
Yeah, good for them. Yeah, I can't just the that Sasha will get annoyed, but is always the one who comes to Mick's defense. That's very sweet.
It is. It's very sweet. Okay. I would like to talk a little bit about world building and the map, but we could also go to your broader topics if you would like.
Well, let's start with the map. What is this? Okay, it tells us that there's a fuel that that Dark Matters uses. What else do we know?
What is Old Town just completely cut off? Like, how does the geography of Hyperion City work that you can shut off an entire district so easily, and you have a whole population of people that haven't really been outside of Old Town at all? Like, I live in New York City. Like, the boroughs are fluid. Like, you can move back and forth between them.
Yeah.
So that I really don't get it. But you can go through the sewers, so it's not like there's a natural barrier. I'm confused. I don't really, and it comes up later with Ramses and the Thea Souls. But how do you just block off part of the city like that? Why don't we hear more about that? I'm sorry, geography.
It's like the fucking Simpsons movie where they just decide they're going to quarantine a town by putting a giant dome on it. There, no one will be able to tunnel under.
My God.
I I don't know, man. Maybe there's just like this one, because like in New Mexico, it's a little commonplace to just have these little pockets of towns, but they're very spread out. It would not be a situation where you could use the sewer system to get from one place to the other. You would have to take
Yeah.
the freeway. So,
And I mean, we talk about later with the freedom stuff that like space is really at a premium in like within the dome. Also, how the fuck is there a sandstorm in a dome?
good question. Oh, I think it was the issue was there was a sandstorm outside, but the
Hmm.
dome that surrounds Old Town is old as fuck, and the chances of there being a failure of the dome were up to like 60% or something. I don't know. So they were like, get inside because the radiation could be real bad today.
Wait. Okay, so does this mean like the different neighborhoods have different domes? Because like that would make things make more sense.
Yes, because then it would be like, okay, a mini poorly maintained bubble over Old Town, and then you take the freeway with your car that's
Which
got,
is shielded.
yes, to Hyperion, which has got the nice dome.
Like Hyperion proper, but we've heard about some other like neighborhoods. Like we've heard uh, of Halcyon and the boiler,
I
and
forgot about those.
I don't know. Um, yeah. So I don't know. I just want like I know we're not in Hyperion City anymore, so it doesn't really matter. But God, I want to know what's going on.
No, I wanted to know more about the layout of the carte blanche, which was funny because I was like finally feeling like I had a handle on where things were, and then it blew up. I
Oh
was
my
like, oh,
God.
okay, I got it. They've got a kitchen and they have a med bay, but it's not called a med bay. And that, oh well.
Yeah, like we already
It looks like a cruise ship.
like a very small cruise ship.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
yacht, if you
A
will, a
yacht.
space
Oh
yacht
my God.
commandeered from rich people.
Bless. Bless.
Yeah,
Amazing.
but that's
I
all I
love that.
can. Yeah, that's all I can think of for the map. I don't know. Also, the buildings are small.
Yeah. So maybe the
Yeah,
dome is lower. I don't know.
yeah.
But quick continuity. I guess it's maybe not a continuity mistake, but Annie Bot at one point yells, "I'm telling mom!" But Sasha has two dads.
Maybe that's how Sasha knew that
Dun
the
dun dun.
oh no. Or maybe Sasha has two
Sasha has
dads and one
trans
mom.
dad. Oh, oh my God. Oh my God. That's very possible. Or Sasha has a trans dad.
Yes. Oh, that works too. Or it's a continuity error like the Magnus Archives where they
Oh my God. Spoiler? Because you don't know
oh
what
my
happened
god.
to Gertrude in the first season.
Oh no. I will like blot that out like and then they'll just you'll just hear like static.
Yeah, that's very Magnus Archives. Okay. No, now I want to talk about your big overarching topics because I think they'll be really fun.
Okay. The first one I'm gonna try to remember was like um the concept of justice and atonement, like I think was really big in this, especially for Juno, because I think he's so I've said this in the past, but my I guess it's a headcanon is that he justifies his existence by his ability to do good and bring other people to justice. So I imagine it would drive him absolutely crazy that he can't ever seem to punish himself enough. And like I don't think he like so like his idea of being happy I think would contradict the punishment that he's assigned for himself. And so I think this whole episode I don't know, just really emphasized to me just how much Juno is obsessed with the idea of a crime has been done and you deserve to be punished for it, and then just suffering horribly because he doesn't feel like he can ever, make up for what he did.
Yeah.
and how much of this was even his fault. So I don't know. I just thought it was a big theme. Do you have any thoughts?
I have far too many thoughts, actually. Um,
Oh,
well,
do
first,
tell.
well, I don't know. I'm probably going to get uncomfortably personal. So, like, um, the first thing like is coming to mind for me is like, how culpable are children?
Yeah.
Like, when accidents happen, when bad things happen, when children are playing or even like being cruel to each other, like I don't know, where's the role of intent? Where's the role of age? Like I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think that three 13-year-olds killed Annie Wire. I
Yeah.
think that their cruelty indirectly led her to a deadly situation, but that's not the same thing.
Yeah.
So, first of all, like I really don't think that Juno deserves the kind of deadly guilt that he's putting on himself. But then, like, I think it's something that I struggle with a lot. Like, it's easier to put guilt on yourself than it is to accept that something happened that you couldn't do anything about.
That
So,
makes a lot of sense because there's at least a sense of control. Like if it was your fault, then maybe you could prevent it from happening again.
yeah, or you can make up for it, or you can do something to make the situation better. Uh,
Yeah.
but
Oh, that
when
makes a lot of sense.
it's very hard to let accidents be accidents, when it feels like if you just say that it's your fault, then you can be sorry and you can fix it or you can do something.
Ooh. Ouch.
Ouch.
Boy.
But then, like, Juno was high key, like, cool with Sasha shooting him.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I guess I'll have to put in the description like suicide ideation. But yeah, we
I
already
mean,
know from this episode that
if you listen to the episode,
yeah, yeah, then you'll know. But oh, yeah. But I think he feels like he deserves to be dead and that Sarah should have shot him. And that's kind of, you know, he's just
yeah.
some kind of waiting around to die at this point.
Yeah. I do think that's true. I think that Juno thinks that, like, the wrong twin survived. But again, like, that's not a situation that was his fault, but it's easier if it feels like it was.
Yes. And it takes him a long time to really face that.
Yeah. And to face like the choice that Ben made.
Yeah,
That
that it
wasn't a
was
choice he
his
could have done
decision.
anything about. Yeah.
Yeah. Because Juno is always piling every decision onto himself, and so to accept that it was someone else's choice, I imagine would be really, oh God,
And Sasha just like calls him the fuck out.
I love it.
It's great. It's not about you, Juno.
Yeah,
My sister. I don't care that you feel bad.
yeah. Oh my God.
And that's important. I think that's a good kick in the pants.
Yeah, yeah. It's not gonna, it's not gonna bring her back that he's sorry for something he couldn't even, change. So,
Mm-hmm.
God.
I
I'm also
know.
very interested in the way that the concept of justice in everybody having to do the things that Annie did, like going through these trials.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because like I've seen like horror movie uh concepts like this before where the characters are tormented like they tormented whoever
Yeah.
and then it ends with them dying because that's what happened to the person, but this their punishment is living, which is interesting to me.
Yeah. Okay. No, I see that. And I think that in some ways, like Dark Matters, was behind all this and is like trying to make it seem like that and trying to make it seem deadly. But like, what, like, in the end, the question becomes like, what does it mean to keep living after you've done something that after tragedy, after you've done something wrong, after you know,
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
I don't know, like I think in some ways the message the what Juno gets out of it is that kind of survival is its own punishment.
Yeah. Which is kind of a sad conclusion to draw, but they expand upon that later and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
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 I don't know. What are you thinking?
I don't know. Hearing you say that makes me think that that's a good first step for Juno, is thinking, because like I think it's in line with his kind of constant sort of punishment of himself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because it's like, oh, okay, then living is something that I have to do. Then like that's like step one. And step two can like be later with Alessandra being like, you have to live, and like then later he can, I don't know, sort of start to incorporate the thought of I can be happy and
Mm-hmm.
live. So like maybe that's a good
Yeah.
step. Yeah.
I think you're right. I think like a first step is this is not about you.
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
that really works.
Yeah. And there is a possibility of you still being fine, as Mick
Yeah.
points out. Like, just because the world is shit and people have died because of you, quote unquote, doesn't mean you can't be fine. So,
Yeah.
also,
And
my battery's about to run out, so I gotta go grab my thing. Ah!
this is an intermission.
Do, 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 do,
Do, do,
do. I'll
do.
be back.
While Rab runs away, I'm going to talk about Rab's parody video of the Juno stories because it is ridiculous and I love it. And the Martian pill is space Wellbutrin. Rab eats a bunch of cards. Um, the Buddy Vespa Time Gone By speech is about vibes. Like it's all there, man. It's really all there. You see Rab in some fantastic costumes. Would recommend. Would recommend. Okay, Rab is sitting down. Rab is wearing a fluffy bathrobe. I don't know. I'm just talking. But y'all should go watch Rab's parody video because it's a masterpiece. Hello.
Were you singing this whole time?
No, I was telling our lovely listeners to go watch your parody video because it's fucking hilarious.
Oh, shut up. Well, if they go watch my parody video, they have to go read Up the Wolves. So there. It's the
Ah,
law. I have
ah.
deemed it.
Up the Wolves is my fic where some of the characters are kids and some aren't, and Juno and Ben end up in the foster care system, and then Jet shows up.
And it's amazing and honestly what I need right now. So
It's both real sad and real cute,
yes, it is the
which is
perfect.
an improvement for me from just real sad.
Oi, it's not an improvement, it's just different. I
Okay.
love your just sad too. I love both of them. I love both
Sometimes you
your
need just
flavors.
sad.
Yeah. It's just gotta be like that.
I want all the
Yes.
sad.
But I will give my life for Uncle Jet. I love him. So
Jet Steel.
that last name, I swear to God, is so fucking funny in the context of a crime family. It's just so funny.
Okay. Y'all
Okay.
read the fic if you want, and then you'll get why we're laughing because Jet Steel is a fucking ridiculous name.
So there's that, and then I think I've touched on what I wanted to about justice, but the other thing was just if you unless do you have anything else or?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
All right, the only other thing was the concept of like because there was this element where everybody seemed to have a different idea of what had happened, where like Mick couldn't remember what he said and Juno couldn't remember how he behaved as a 13-year-old, and I don't know if we got something like that from Sasha, but it was confronting the past and the reality of what they had and hadn't done. And also at the same time there was this element of fantasy going on, mostly where Mick was concerned, and the importance of fiction. And so that was an interesting contrast, and I don't really know what to think about that. I just think it's interesting.
Okay. Can you say a little more about Mick and fantasy?
Just that his role, like I think you mentioned already earlier that he was introduced as a storyteller. Like that was
Hmm.
how like Juno and Sasha, or at least how Juno definitely became friends with him. And so that was the hook. And then even when he knew that what Mick was talking about was bullshit, he still wanted to stay. And Mick throughout this whole thing is weaving these stories about, you know, monsters and believing things like his dog got like killed in a gang war or something. And he's
Wilco!
well, I mean, whatever am I saying believing? He was obviously shot 15 times. Whatever. But but like he genuinely seems to. And so at the end, like it begins like their relationship, and then the whole episode, the end to this whole awful mess is like this note about McMurcury and his storytelling and how sometimes you need stories, and even if they, you know, aren't real, so that like if you got there, if you got to your happiness, you would recognize it. And like it was
Hmm.
just such a weird, I mean, I love it. I love the decision to end on that note, but to have a story that is so based in, you know, the reality of the past, and then to end on this note about storytelling was just such an interesting choice to me.
Well, I think in most ways, like, the past is stories we tell ourselves.
Ooh.
Like, that's the thing. Like, I've talked about how I think that Benziton was probably a little different than what we saw in Monsters Reflection. Like, we we see our memories the way we want to see them. And I think that Sasha and Juno have both put this kind of element of culpability and tragedy. Like, I mean, it is a tragedy, of course, objectively, but I think Mick has layered over these memories as in a different way, where he's like the leader and it's
Yeah.
his fault because he's the leader.
I forgot
And
that Mick thought it was his fault. Oh my
yeah, they
God.
all three
Everybody
of them
thinks
think
it's
it's
their
their fault.
fault.
And if it's anyone's fault, it's all of their fault.
Yeah.
So any one of them trying to take all the blame is ridiculous. And
Yeah.
and I think it works. Like, the story is for each of them, because you're the main character of your own story. The story is for each of them that it was their fault, because again, that's like something that you can have and something you can, like, it feels tangible.
Yeah.
Especially since they're not all hanging out much. Like, it's
Yeah.
not a burden that can be shared. Like, it feels worse to carry a burden three ways when the other two people aren't around, if that makes sense.
That totally does. I would want to put that blame on myself if I, you know, didn't I didn't have people around me to support me or remind me of what really happened. Like I
Yeah.
think my guilt would start to warp my memory of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Guilt warps memory so much. I
Yeah.
mean, like, everything warps memories, but
Yeah,
I,
just thinking about a memory warps the memory.
yeah, brains, they work. Excuse me.
So that makes a lot of sense. The oh wow, the past as a story. That is so interesting and I love that.
Well, I think that it, like, ties into the narrative. Juno is, like, trying to fit himself in. Like,
Yeah, fuck.
he's trying to plot this redemption arc, but he doesn't know what redemption is.
I'm
He,
like
he
bouncing up and down. That is so cool.
like he thinks that redemption is like Andromeda. Like, the parallels with Andromeda are many and varied, of course. Like,
Yeah.
and you drew that GIF where they switch back and forth, like.
I find that so interesting.
Yeah, but the trials of Andromeda is like, she can never go home, so she helps all these different sets of people go home, like find their
Yeah.
homes. So Juno thinks that the story for him is like he can't fix his past mistakes. He can't, keep Benzitin alive. He can't keep Annie alive. So what he can do is keep other people alive over and over and over. And like, yeah, that works in a story. Like that's how a story works. But like in real life, that's just acting out your trauma over and over and over again, hoping for different results.
Oof. That's a kicker.
I had therapy earlier today, listeners, so I'm in a mood.
That was real good, Luna. Oh God. Oh God. That's what he's doing, isn't it? Oh, that's the worst. That's the worst. He's still trying to fix what he did over and over. Oh my God. Ow.
And so every time he fails, he like slips further down into like the idea that his mistakes, like he thinks it adds to the tally.
Yeah. When
And
there's
there's no tally. There is no tally.
Wow. And that's the story he's making. Wow, that is so rad. I love this episode even more now, and I'm
Right?
amazed that it's the third fucking one.
Like it just gets more resonant every time we get more information about Juno's childhood.
Yeah. Honestly, the depth of Juno as a character is really inspirational for me. It is so great.
Yeah. Yeah. Juno. Juno helped me go to therapy. That did happen.
Good.
I'm sure
Good.
I'm sure I'll talk more about this when we do Monsters Reflection, whenever we do that in a
Yeah.
while. But like high key Monsters Reflection, I was like, oh, I should have to deal with this.
Oh, that's so good. Really hard, but like really good.
I remember like walking around the street, like on the street being like, fuck, shit.
Oh shit, I gotta deal with this now.
I
Fuck
have
you,
told
Juno
Sophie and Kevin
Steele.
that, yes.
You what?
Sophie and Kevin that.
Oh, I'm sure. Look, if I heard that from someone, I would be like so honored and touched and happy that my story had helped someone like realize like, oh, I gotta confront this. Oh no.
Yeah. I just kind of stammered at them, like, Monsters Reflection helped me get a PTSD diagnosis. And they were like, I'm glad. And then I like, hey, Joshua, Monsters Reflection kept me alive a little bit. And he was like, rad.
Oh, I love them.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's funny for me, like even though I really love Juno, I did not expect this at all. But for me it was like Peter writing for
Really? Okay.
me writing for Peter made me realize how much I've been masking in my life.
Okay.
And I was like, "Oh my god, fuck." I was like, "Why am I so fascinated with writing about this character's identity issue?" Oh. Oh. Oh no.
Well, shit.
So that's just the way of Penumbra, is just, making you realize you got stuff to work on. That's okay.
And this has been Penumbuddies Mental Health Corner.
Just checking in. It's okay.
You know.
Yeah, when we get to Monsters Reflection, that's gonna be super intense.
I'm
Oh, boy.
literally gonna cry.
It's
gonna happen.
I get that ending every time.
Every
I'm
time.
gone. Yeah.
Yep. I can probably still recite it from memory.
Oh my god, I want to memorize that speech. It is so important. Oh my god, I have never heard that from a show before or a story. It's like, oh my god, I'm excited to talk about it. I'm also terrified to talk about it. It's gonna be fun, I think, maybe.
And we have a lot to get through. I think we got Valis Vicky next in our backlog.
It's exciting.
Who, as we know, is a lesbian, and I love her.
Absolutely. Thank God. But
Thank
really quick
God.
before we go, I just gotta say it is the funniest thing that my escape room used the first escape room I worked at where I was a game master. So I look in through the camera and I watch you struggle while you do puzzles.
Oh, damn.
Like, yeah, whenever I sent a clue to them, it would appear on a screen, and to alert them that I'd sent it, a sound effect would happen and it would go bloop. And I the first time I listened to this episode, I think I had like I was thrown back in time to that job because they used the exact same sound effect
Oh my
as
God.
the escape room. I was like, oh
What is
fuck, I just wrote a clue.
sound.com?
Yeah.
Hell yes.
But that's all I have to
That's a
say is
lovely
that
note to end on.
yeah, but yeah, we'll keep going through the backlog.
Yeah, we got a second Citadel, and then we got a hiatus, which is sad. But
Oh.
we will be here with your backlog for all your Penumbuddies needs.
Yay! We love y'all. Thank you
All
for
right.
listening.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.